We'll see. All right, we're out of time, but we do have time now to go to Brent Miller, our chief meteorologist, with more on the latest weather. Brent?
And Jeff, we're going to go into continuous coverage now. We have a tornado warning now. You can see it from Caneville stretching over toward Geneva. This cell right here has exhibited some rotation. Barron tornado index of 2.7. We've been watching all evening these little inflow notches where spinning takes place in this whole line of thunderstorms. And again, what we have now is this active tornado warning that rolls until 11:15. You can see this entire line. And let's get really close here and let's talk safety for just a moment. If you've got a basement and you're in this area that is being warned, and you can see it stretching from St. Charles right down the Fox River and out west to Caneville and up to Lily Lake, get in the basement. Water table's rather high in some of these western suburbs too, so the next best place would be a strong interior room like a bathroom, because there's all the construction around the bathroom that holds the pipes and everything, so that's a safe place. And usually bathrooms don't have outside windows, so that's an excellent location. And if you're in a building that has several stories, an apartment house perhaps, get to a lower level. So we'll roll through it again. Basement, center of the basement, a bathroom if you're on the first floor, and if you're on a second floor apartment, get to a first floor, get to know your first floor neighbor, and wait this out. And again, this is active until 11:15. Again, a tornado warning starting out west and crossing the Fox River, moving into more populated areas. And one thing that's, if you were here 20, 30 years ago, these were all farm fields. There is a lot of housing now that's been developed there, and those houses are close together. So anything that does develop could damage one house to the next house because of their close construction. And once again, because it's raining, these are rain-wrapped potential tornadoes, so you really can't see it, especially this hour at night at 10:46. So keep your guard up and put Live Doppler 5 on your smartphone. We talk about this all the time. But with our NBC Chicago app, you also get the warnings. You'll get the all clear. You'll see where the actual rotation is with Live Doppler 5. And again, let's highlight, you see that black and red box flashing there. That's where the tornado warning is active until 11:15. And this is really hard to really pick out in here because you can see how this whole area is sort of closing, the gap here. And what these are known as inflow notches along this line, quasi-linear convective area. That's what this is called, and this is running right down from the northeast to the south. We've got a new warning. You can hear some of the warnings popping up on our smartphones here. Let's widen out a little bit, and we'll give you an idea of what we're expecting here. Trying to silence that telephone. And that's another thing you may notice is on your smartphone, the telephone company sends those warnings over the phone, and also the cable companies. You'll see that. Here is a new active tornado warning. This includes Elk Grove Village toward Glenview. And again, this is these are radar indicated. We're not seeing any confirmed tornado on the ground, but again, err on the side of caution. Strong interior room, away from windows, center of the basement, and look at the timeline on this, around 11:30. And again, what's happening here? Let's widen really far out here a bit if we can, and give you an idea of the whole concept of what's been going on. All day long today, we've had this line of thunderstorms that has been working its way relentlessly toward Chicago. Now, this is ahead of a cold front that's still out to the west. This is out ahead of it. And you see the general motion here. It starts to move off to the east. It really isn't pushing that far south at this point. So we're going to have to chew through all of this radar information all the way to the west for several hours here before this threat comes to an end. And again, we've highlighted the area, those blue boxes were the severe thunderstorm warnings with a tornado possible. What you're seeing now are those red and black boxes flashing there, indicating the potential for a radar-indicated tornado. And again, we talk safety. Strong interior room, away from windows, center of the basement. And the other thing is, don't try to go outside and look at this thing. Don't do anything foolish. Err on the side of caution. Stay indoors, because you can't see it because it's rain wrapped as it continues to work its way off to the east. So look at the timeline here. It's 11:30. For this tornado warning, and the one out to the west around, I believe, 11:15, if we can pop that up too. So again, all along this line of thunderstorms, we have the potential for spinning up these weak tornadoes. Now, typically in one of these scenarios, you're going to see something that's perhaps an EF0, EF1 at the outside. So these aren't those big, gigantic EF4s and 5s. But again, they could do some serious damage as this line continues to work its way off to the east. So we continue to track this, and we have Kate Chappell. She'll be standing by in the studio here to spell us in just a moment. What we've got going on is a couple of tornado warnings that continue to work their way eastward. One into Cook County, one that's out to the south and west, and you see the general motion is off to the east around 25 miles per hour. So strong storms working off to the east, and again, the potential that some of these could be tornadic. Look at the lightning. Let's pop that up and give you an idea what's going on there. A lot of lightning across the area. Kate, are you in place yet? I've got to take one look at what is going on here with some of the equipment. But again, you see those lightning flashes. 2 tornado warnings, one across Cook County, one to the south and west, and again, all these working off to the northeast at around 25 miles per hour. I'm going to have to grab a drink of water here for just a second, and we'll continue our coverage here on NBC in Chicago. Kate, are you in place yet? And she's working on that. I'm going to walk around here and grab a quick glass of water as we continue our coverage.
All right, Brant, I'm going to take over here. Take you through and take everybody through what's going on here with the severe thunderstorm warnings and also with the new tornado warnings. We have that tornado warning that is now in effect for parts of DuPage County. Let's take you through the warnings here right now. You can see these are the hail cores, and it's a veritable mess as far as what we're looking at here, because we're looking at such huge updrafts and very packed in updrafts at that. So there's a lot of movement with these storms because they are training. Basically, they're coming almost from west to east, and that line extends well out to the west. So we're looking at these showers and storms continuing to work their way on through. Numerous lightning strikes associated with them as well. So we have 2 active tornado warnings. The second one that just popped up, we're going to zoom in on this one right here. It's for parts of DuPage County, also into Cook County as well. This particular storm cell is moving off to the east. Wooddale, Elk Grove, Park Ridge, also Niles and Evanston are in the path of this storm. If you are in the path of this storm, seek an interior room in your house. If you have an opportunity to, especially if you've got a little time here, just a few minutes at Park Ridge, Niles, and Evanston, grab your phone charger. Take it with you, because if you have to hunker down in an interior room, away from windows, away from doors, away from anything potentially coming through the walls should we have some flying debris, you might be losing power. And if that's the case, the only outside world that you have to keep in touch with is having that through your smartphone. So if you have the opportunity, have your charger handy. So this is the current tornado warning that we're looking at. So far, it is only Doppler radar indicated as far as that tornado goes. It continues to push its way on off to the east at approximately 20 to 25 miles an hour and will last until 11:30. We still have an active tornado warning now just out to the west. Again, that is for parts of Kane County as well. That one is in effect until 11:15 this evening. So we're going to continue to track these inflow notches. We're starting to see, again, with the winds coming in out of the south ahead of the front and out of the northwest behind it, that's adding just enough rotation, enough spin in the atmosphere that we're looking at these tornadoes potentially spinning up. So far, nothing has been confirmed on the ground. These are all Doppler radar indicated tornadoes. However, Brant, we've seen this before. The Doppler radar indication is a precursor to a tornado touching down, and that's why we're on here live to let you know, hey, take precautions right now.
And Pete, thank you for spelling me with a case of needing a drink of water. Thank you, sir. Let's bring you up to speed and a quick overview of what's been happening here. As Pete mentioned, we have 2 active tornado warnings. Now, keep in mind that these are not confirmed touchdowns. These are radar indicated. Doppler radar is exhibiting some rotation there, and that's why we've got these warnings active at this point. 2, one to the west that's out near the Fox River Valley, and one across Cook County and part of DuPage County. We'll get in closer, and you can really see them well defined here, where you see the black and red boxes flashing. Let's get even closer and show you some of these communities so you can really pick it out and get an idea what's going on. So here's the Fox River. There's St. Charles, Geneva, right here, in here. And this is really tough to pick out where the rotation is. Somewhere in here. This is rotation tracker, and the really neat thing about this is when you start to see this S shape, that is telling you that, and that's sort of a weak S there, but that's telling you that there's some rotation going on. So if you live in Wheaton and Lombard, Downers Grove, take shelter right now. That's an active tornado warning for you, and there is some rotation being exhibited there. And again, we talked about the strength of the tornado. This is probably an EF0 or EF1 at the outside, but still can do a lot of damage. So watch carefully for anything. If you hear that sound of a freight train or that rumbling, don't go outside to look and see what's going on. Please don't do that. Don't try to take any pictures. A lot of these things are rain wrapped at this point. You see once again here near Itasca a little bit of a rotation indicated there. There's some large hail possible. We were looking earlier this afternoon at the freezing level, and that's down to around 13,000 feet. Tops of these storms haven't been really that high here in Illinois. They've been around 30,000 feet. Earlier we saw some that touched 50,000 feet out near the Quad Cities and out near Rockford. And again, those flashing boxes there, that's where there is a radar indicated tornado warning in effect. One that's to the west out toward Batavia, and the other one over portions of DuPage County out into Cook County, right up to the lakeshore to Wilmette and Evanston. So again, what we're looking at are these little, Pete mentioned it there, the inflow notches. And what they are is as this line of thunderstorms is moving off to the south and east, you see these little divots that come in here. And that's where you typically see some rotation. And again, all of this stuff is radar indicated at this point. There has been no confirmed tornado on the ground, but again, we're erring on the side of caution. And as Pete mentioned, make sure you take your smartphone with our NBC Chicago app into your shelter. Strong interior room. We just had some reports. Repeat that again for me, please. Okay, we're hearing that perhaps in Addison there may have been a touchdown. This is unconfirmed at this point. And again, you're looking, here's Itasca, Addison's right here. And again, caution. That's what we can say that over and over again. Stay inside a safe place, strong interior room away from windows, and that would be a basement or an interior bathroom, first floor. Here's again a look at some of the rotation tracker. And Pete, what was interesting earlier in the evening on the broadcast, you saw that swath of rotation moving out into Lake Michigan. That really has come true here in some respect as we see these warnings continue. Pete, over to you.
Yeah, we're continuing to see that rotation. We showed the rotation tracker in the newscast earlier with the potential for seeing that severe weather through the evening time period, particularly this time period where we were looking at times extreme rotation. And now as a result, we have a line now of showers and storms, and these storms have produced some gusty winds. We have numerous reports of 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, which are in excess of wind gusts necessary for a severe thunderstorm warning. So we're going to take you through a couple of these. First, we have the tornado warning that's in effect for parts of DuPage and Cook County until 11:30. Right underneath that is a severe thunderstorm warning for a slightly larger area. That one is in effect until 11:30. And then we have the tornado warning that's in effect for parts of DeKalb, or Kane rather, and into DuPage County. That one until 11:15. Further to the south, we have another severe thunderstorm warning. That one is in effect until 11:45. And now we just have this severe thunderstorm warning that was recently issued. Don't have any statistics as far as when that one is set to expire. But as you can see, it encompasses the remainder of DuPage County, southern Cook County, also into Will County, all the way to the Illinois-Indiana state line. This is all part of a complex associated with a cold front that continues to push its way on through. And as it does, we've seen the rotation along the line, enough rotation that we have the 2 active tornado warnings that are in effect. So far, the good news, nothing confirmed on the ground, although there have been reports of some wall clouds, some squall lines, and some very gusty winds associated with some of these thunderstorms as well. But again, the good news, nothing confirmed on the ground. But as Brant has mentioned, these are rain-wrapped tornadoes. It's dark out. As you can see, there's a lot of lightning associated with it, and if you don't have any storm chasing experience at all, you're best advised just to go to an interior room in your house, wait it out, make sure you have your smartphone with you. If you have the opportunity to grab that charger, take it with you as well, because there is the possibility now, especially when we see these 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, there is the possibility of some tree limbs going down with some of these wind gusts. And if we see the tree limbs going down, we're also likely going to see some power outages as well. So your smartphone may be your only connection to the outside world once these storms move their way on through. You can see that line still extends well out to the west past LaSalle County. So we still have several more hours here before we finally see this rain coming to an end. So again, it continues to work its way on through. We're going to zoom in here and show you again the numerous lightning strikes where you're seeing these shades, especially not necessarily the watch box itself, but these shades of orange and red. This is where we're also looking at some very intense rainfall as the rain comes on down. And so you can see on this latest storm track here, Wooddale at 11 o'clock here, which is the current time. Elk Grove Village at 11:07, 11:21 for Park Ridge, Niles 11:27, and finally 11:44 for Evanston. These storms are moving at approximately 30 miles an hour due east, so they continue to track their way on through the area. Here's another look, taking a look at the entire area, and as you can see, there are numerous. There's two tornado warnings rather. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 severe thunderstorm warnings, and even these thunderstorm warnings at times will be capable of producing rotation and also the possibility of a tornado spin up. So even though we're talking about a severe thunderstorm warning, as you know, these thunderstorm warnings can still produce some very gusty winds, so it's best advised that you take the same advice for a severe thunderstorm warning, especially since it's dark out, that you would for a tornado warning. Seek an interior room in your house, away from windows, away from doors, and make sure that that's your way of staying safe in all of this, because we continue to see these storms move their way on through. Here's a look at Stormcast, and again, we have several more hours here of this rain working its way on through. Brent, what's the latest as far as what we're looking at for tornado safety?
Let's talk safety here, and we have a little model of home. Your safe place, strong interior room. We say this over and over again. Stay away from windows. Center of the basement. Here's a rather simple graphic to give you an idea of that safe place. Center of the basement. For a long time, there was the theory that you'd get in the southwest corner because most of the storms approach from that. And there was a study that was done that showed the debris usually fell in the southwest corner. Not a good place to be. So the center of the basement, and the way houses are constructed, especially some of the older houses, that stairway to the basement often is right in the center of the basement. Ideal placing. So get underneath that stairway in the basement. That's a safe place. Now, if you don't have a basement, a strong interior room, we say that all the time. There it is. The bathroom, usually centered in the center of the house. Sometimes they have outside windows, sometimes they don't. A bathtub. Now, we've talked about this before. As crazy as it may sound, crawl inside the bathtub, take a comforter or a blanket, cover yourself so there isn't any debris flying around, and that may be your best safe place if you have no basement on the first floor. Now, if you have a two-story apartment or a two-story house, don't try to ride the storm out upstairs. That doesn't make any sense. You want to be the closest level to the ground and the strongest construction. So first floor, away from windows, strong interior room, and as you saw that graphic of the basement, that's the best place, underneath the basement stairs. Let's give you an overview, and Pete mentioned this before, that these blue boxes that you see are severe thunderstorm warnings with the caveat tornado possible. And that's what's been happening here. You're seeing these black and red boxes flashing. Those are the active tornado warnings, meaning that Doppler radar has detected some rotation. And you can see if you're in Warrenville, look at the line right in here. That thing is right on top of you. If you're in Naperville, this line of thunderstorms is moving toward you. And again, this could be a rain-wrapped tornado, meaning you can't see it. Obviously at 11:04, it's pretty dark outside, but you might not be able to see that circulation. And again, we're looking at a tornado with the potential of perhaps an EF0, EF1 as it moves through. There's Naperville again, Warrenville, Naperville. It's crossed the Fox River at this point. Here's an outside shot. We're looking at one of our cameras, and you can see the heavy rainfall across the area, and you can see some of those flashes in the distance, a lot of lightning. Sometimes we don't talk enough about the lightning, and there is no safe place outside where there's lightning. Get inside a building. If you're outside in a car, sit in the car and roll the windows up, and you can see all of the sheets of rain here on the highway and those frequent lightning flashes in the distance. So again, the reason too that you sit in your car is there's an old tale that perhaps the rubber tires protect you. That's not true. What happens is it's like a bird sitting on a power line. You're part of the circuit. So when you're sitting in the car, if a lightning strike is close by and it jumps over to your car, it will go through the metal structure of the car to the ground, and you're part of the circuit. You're inside the circuit like a bird on a power line. So that keeps you safe. If you've got a convertible, there is no safety there. So get inside a building or a hard covered automobile. Again, let's look at the radar information. You can see behind me some of those pictures of the city. The lightning is frequent. Again, let's go back out and show you right in Naperville. We have that active warning continuing, and again, seek shelter, strong interior room away from windows. And our concern is this line, there may be an embedded tornado in it. So get to your safe place if you're across DuPage County, Naperville. And again, see this rotation right here. Let's get really close on that. And if we could dump the double box, let's go straight to this so you can really see what's going on here. All right, let's zoom in, and you can see where we are here. There's strong rotation in the Naperville area. And again, that active tornado warning. So seek shelter now. A strong storm is moving to the east. That's just north of 34 and moving off to the east. Pete, give us an overview of how far Stormcast thinks this is going to continue as we roll through the rest of the overnight hours.
Well, we have a new warning in, Brant. Let's take you to it right now. As you can see, it has shown up right here. We have a new tornado warning that is in effect. Let's take you into it right now. We'll show you what's going on here on Live Doppler 5. We'll zoom in, and as you can see, here's the newest information here. Let's plot first a query box on here so that we can see what we're talking about here. We have a tornado warning that's in effect until 11:45 this evening. As you can see, it encompasses parts of DuPage County as well as parts of Will County and into Cook County as well. These storms have been moving off to the east at about 30 miles an hour, so they've continued to produce enough rotation that we're looking at the prospect of seeing a tornado touchdown. So here is your timeline for this current tornado warning that was just issued. 11:12 for Barber's Corner, so we're about 5 minutes away. Hastings at 11:22, and Sag Bridge, Saginaw Bridge, 11:25, and then in Orland Park, 11:36. So we're looking at the storm continuing to work its way on off to the east, and as it does, so far, we do not have, again, I can't stress this enough, we do not have any reports of tornadoes touching the ground yet. However, when we see the rotation in the clouds, that is typically a precursor to rotation eventually reaching the ground. So that's why we bring you up to speed as far as these tornado warnings go. They do have the possibility of making it all the way down to the ground and creating a tornado. And even as Rand has mentioned, an F0, EF0, EF1 tornado, even a weak tornado is capable of taking out power lines, taking out houses, doing some damage. So that's why even the weakest tornadoes need to be taken seriously. This is all part of a complex that continues to work its way on through. This is now the third active tornado watch, or warning rather, that we have in effect, in addition to the one off to the north and off to our east. Although it appears we might be losing some of these. We'll bring you up to speed because, again, with the rapid movement of these storms, it looks like the storms are now starting to pick up their pace a little bit. We're seeing a lot of changes here as far as what's going on with the atmosphere and what's going on with these warnings. So again, we have this active tornado warning right now, Brant, that's going on in parts of DuPage, Will, and southern Cook counties.
And I think, Pete, the wise thing to do at this point is don't wait for the warning over your house at this point. It's an area-wide event. We've got 3 active tornado warnings. Although they're radar indicated, seek shelter now in a strong interior. We've got 2 active tornado warnings, and these blue boxes are severe thunderstorm warnings that continue to be active. And so the safe thing to do is get to that strong interior room away from windows, the center of the basement, first floor, and ride this out. We talked about this just a few minutes ago, that it would be right on top of Naperville. You see the radar information. It's raining heavily in Naperville. We talk about the drought conditions. This is not necessarily a drought buster, but several inches of rain have already fallen, and we'll continue to see. Okay, we now have a confirmed tornado now for southern DuPage County. And again, get to that safe place. Strong interior room away from windows, center of the basement. Confirmed tornado in southern DuPage County. So somewhere right in here, there's their little inflow notch right in here. This is there. Look at that. Look at that. This Barron's machine we have does an excellent job of showing you the rotation. This is just around 53, and you can see that S shape there. This is strong rotation. This is coming up on Woodridge at this point. So get to your safe place. This is a confirmed tornado just to the west of 355. And again, this is a tornado confirmed on the ground in DuPage County. So seek shelter right now. This is a dangerous storm. General motion now is off to the north and east. So this is going to cross 53 and move off to the north and east. And look at the area. Look at the construction. All of the houses closely packed together. The last thing you need is a rain-wrapped tornado at 11:11 on a Sunday night. It's moving east at 50 miles per hour right now. And again, this is an active tornado warning for DuPage County. Get to shelter immediately if you're in this area. There's Woodridge. You can see Barber's Corners. This is moving off to the east. And again, this is a confirmed tornado on the ground, and that's in DuPage County. This is the strongest circulation that I've seen in years of what's going on here. So we have an active tornado on the ground in DuPage County. And again, let's get closer here. Here's Woodridge. Here's 53, and you can see it moving off to the north and east. We'll continue to watch that. Let's go off of this for a second and go back to the reflectivity and show you what we're seeing as far as the typical radar image that you see. Where is that circulation? Right in here, and we've talked about those inflow notches. Right here is where it's occurring. There's Woodridge. General motion is in this direction. Pete, what are you seeing? Okay, well, let's flip over here, and we're looking. Let's go back to that really quick. Sorry, I gave you a false cue there. Let's go back to that circulation that we were looking at for just a second there. And what that was showing you is right here, okay? This couplet, red going away, coming toward the Doppler radar. Right here is that circulation being confirmed by what we're seeing on that Barron tracker. Pete, and you can see now the rotation continues to cross 53 and move off to 355. So we're gonna run a fan out on this guy, or a track, and give you an idea where it's headed. There it is, moving east at around 50 miles per hour, so very quickly moving toward the lakefront. So one on the ground in DuPage County. Pete?
Well, Brant, that 50-mile-an-hour storm motion is an indication that these storms are starting to accelerate a little bit. But this is the current severe thunderstorm warning, and embedded within that is the tornado warning with a touchdown that has been confirmed right now in DuPage County and is working its way on off to the east in what Brant had earlier mentioned, a very highly populated area. So, because it's dark out, because the only view you might have is from a lightning strike, and even that's going to be iffy, this is your time right now to get indoors. Not only if you find yourself in this area of where this cone is, but even further east, or further south, or a little bit further to the north as well. Because one thing that we also know about the storm movement is that tornadoes in particular can be very unpredictable as far as their exact path. They tend to wobble as they move along because they're rotating, they're spinning as they move. So it's not an exact straight line that these tornadoes will typically move. So here's your opportunity. Get into a safe place in your house, an interior room away from windows. It's been studied before. Most people who are hurt in a tornado are hurt from flying glass, which is why it's recommended. Get into an interior room. Brant had mentioned a bathroom. Most of the time, bathrooms are in an interior room in your house without any windows. So that is the safest location to be. We're zooming in on this again. We're seeing what's called a little bit of attenuation there because we are looking at this storm cell so close to our own radar here. But Brant had mentioned the inflow notch that we're seeing, and you can kind of see it depicted right here as well. As the winds blow into this, there's just a little bit less in the way of precipitation. It's just a little bit lighter, and that's why we see these shades of green here, and then all of a sudden they surge into shades of yellow and red there, and that's an indication of the rotation. We're also going to be showing you this rotation detector, and as you can see, we're seeing shades of red here right next to shades of green, and when we have those two colors with winds moving toward the radar and winds moving away from the radar right up next to one another, that is an indication that we're seeing rotation, and again, that's why we're seeing that tornado that has touched down. Brant, what's the latest that you have there?
Latest information is a spotter has indicated that it has crossed 355, and again, as you mentioned, Pete, this thing is honking. It's moving east at nearly 50 miles per hour. There is Woodridge, and it has crossed 355 and is moving east, and it has intensified. I'm looking at some of the rotation here. Strong couplet showing you in and out flow. Look at this. This is very impressive, right over Woodridge, and you can see the rotation detector here. Now keep in mind these radar images update every couple of minutes, and you can see it's pushed across 355 at this point, and again strong rotation being indicated here, a tornado on the ground in DuPage County. And you can see from our topographical map here, look how the houses are all tightly packed together again. So if you get some damage going, and we've had the report of damage stretching across I-355. It's apparently right along paralleling 75th Street. So on the south end of 75th Street, crossing Woodridge and moving off to the east. Let's widen this out a little bit if we can and show you Darien here in the distance. And again, all of this is moving nearly due east at around 50 miles per hour. So you see these other communities here, Willowbrook. On the ground, observed tornado. Here's the Stevenson Expressway. We're starting to get into a populated area here. So if you're in Darien and Burr Ridge, right now is the time to get to a safe place. Don't mess around because this is moving very quickly. You have limited time to get into a strong interior room away from windows, center of the basement, because this will be on you as we're speaking right now. That is moving toward you. Here's Burr Ridge, Willow Springs, and again, this is moving into a very populated area. And we've been tracking this for the last 15 minutes or so, and it really has picked up intensity. And what you're seeing there, that circulation showing you that there is definitely rotation in this, and what we call a couplet with Doppler radar. It's showing in and outbound motion, and that gives you an idea that there's circulation going on. So this thing is spinning. It is a tornado on the ground. It is moving toward Darien. In fact, right now it is probably right on Darien. If you haven't sought shelter yet, get there now. Let's get really close. You can see Darien is right here. And again, look at the construction. Look at all these houses together here, and look how broad this circulation is. So it continues to move to the east, general motion around 50 miles per hour. Some of those projected times, countryside by 11:24. Don't concentrate on that so much. Concentrate on safety. Get to that safe place inside your basement, inside a first floor room, away from windows, center of the bathroom, as Pete had mentioned. We continue to watch this moving off to the east, and this is a strong circulation. I have not seen, since we've had this piece of equipment, any circulation like that. We'll widen out and give you an idea of what's going on. Let's get a broader perspective here, if we can, of where we are geographically. There you are across the DuPage County. As Pete mentioned, there's that inflow notch. Here's this whole line of showers and thunderstorms moving off to the east. So this isn't over yet. You're going to see that tornado continue to work its way essentially eastward over toward Bridgeview eventually. Pete, can you get a look at some more of that rotation information that you were sharing just a moment ago?
Yeah, we're going to take a look here really quick, Brant. I'm going to be seated here off camera here, but I want to be able to show you this. First, we have, it appears as though there are a couple of warnings that are in effect, because we do have one part of the storm cell working its way on off to the east, so Lyons and Chicago in that particular storm path, and then we have the one that's further off to the south and east. That's heading off to the south and east, and you can see the times there. But as Brand mentioned, don't concern yourself with the time so much, because even though it says Hobart at 12:06, that seems like it would be a lot of time. Don't act as though you've got a lot of time to work with. It's best to get to your safe place as early as possible so that you can take advantage of the time that you have to make sure that you are in a safe location. So let's take a look and see if we can find the rotation tracker and show you what's going on as far as what we're looking at. That's the wrong one there. That's showing the velocity here. So we're going to clear that off of the map, and we're going to go to the fan once again to show you what's going on as far as these storms. Moving off to the east at approximately 50 miles an hour, so they are gaining in speed. That's the good news. The bad news is, again, we're looking at one tornado touchdown, and also we do have so far in Kane County near Salmonuck and Sandwich, there are fires that are being responded to right now because some of the trees have taken down some power lines, and those power lines have obviously arced and created some fires out of that. So that's another one of the hazards that we're looking at with this, Brant, is the gusty winds that are taking also down the trees and power lines, along with the tornadoes that have touched down already.
Pete, we have, there's something called correlation coefficient. It shows what kind of particles are floating around in the sky. And this is what is known as a debris ball. We are seeing debris being lofted here. Here's countryside. That indication right there goes up to around 10,000 feet. We're seeing debris in the atmosphere from the tornado that is on the ground. So that's a debris ball. That's a result of what you're seeing here, and you see that strong circulation there on a rotation tracker. And when you get that sort of S-shaped, that is indicative of a tornado that's on the ground. And again, that debris is a confirmation once again. Here's a broader view. There's Burr Ridge, there's Darien, and it's just a blob of radar information at this point to really pick it apart. Keep in mind, it's raining right now. You can't see this thing. So get to your safe place. Get to a strong interior room away from windows. Countryside, you can see Hodgkins. All of these areas are starting to move off to the east. Again, this thing is really moving. General motion close to 50 miles per hour as it stretches eastward. And again, let's go back to that debris ball if we can and show you where that debris has been indicated by Doppler radar. So not only is it confirmed on the ground, but it's confirmed to be producing debris. There's countryside. and you can see it moving toward Hodgkins. And again, right here, that is a radar indication of damage from this tornado. It's already crossed 355. It's moving paralleling, it looks like the Stevenson Expressway. Coming up here, there's countryside. You start to see it working its way toward the east. Hodgkins, if you're in Hodgkins right now, get to a safe place. Into your basement. Cover yourself in the bathroom if you're first floor. Get away from windows. If you're driving, pull over someplace, get inside a building. Do not be on the streets of Woodridge at this point, because that thing is right on you. You see those showers and thunderstorms continue. There's Burr Ridge, raining heavily at this point. We haven't talked a lot about the flooding potential, but heavy rainfall, several inches of rain is being produced, wrung out of the atmosphere at this point. Pete pointed out the electrical potential. If you see a power line down, don't go anywhere near it. 1-800-EDISON-1 if you're in ComEd's service area. Stay away from the power lines, and if you lose power, take that smartphone or that smart device into the basement or into your strong interior room and seek shelter now. Let's go back to that rotation and give you an idea exactly where this thing is. That's one of the beauties of Rotation Tracker. We can show you right now on Burr Ridge. It's right there at this point. It's going to cross out ahead of it. Here's Hodgkins. You start to cross, there's the sanitary canal. Continuing eastward, we'll continue to see this Bedford Park all pushing off to the east. And again, this is a tornado on the ground at this point. It is producing debris. It is a dangerous situation. Don't take this lightly. Get into your safe place. That would be that strong interior room away from windows, center of the basement. And we're seeing debris being lofted thousands of feet into the air. So this is an active, dangerous situation at this point. All over this area to the west of the Stevenson Expressway. This is a dangerous situation, and we'll continue to monitor it. Pete, what are you seeing?
Right now, Brant, let's take you, show you what's going on here as far as the overall view and what we're looking at with the severe thunderstorm warnings and also the tornado warnings. Here's a look again at live Doppler 5, and as you can see, we have the tornado warning that's in effect. This one will remain in effect until midnight for parts of DuPage County, also into Cook County. We also have another one just to our south that has been producing rotation, and this is the cell that again is produced the tornado as well. That is in effect until 11:45, so that one still has another 20 minutes to go. But again, as these continue to push their way on up, what we have seen is the warnings moving right along with the storms as they work their way on off to the east, and they have been accelerating. We're going to zoom this out just a little bit because we're still looking at, you can see the darker shade of blue. A huge area is encompassed by a severe thunderstorm warning. We're looking at very heavy rain. We're looking at the possibility of storm sewers not being able to keep up with the heavy rainfall rates that we're seeing out of this. Of course, we're also seeing numerous lightning strikes, and as we put this into motion here, this is the last hour, and so we continue to see these storms accelerating. But as they do, with that acceleration, we're seeing an increased spin in the atmosphere that is allowing for these tornado warnings to continue to pop up. Brant, what's the latest on that confirmed tornado touchdown?
Right now, the latest Doppler radar is indicating near Willow Springs and Burr Ridge. That's where you're seeing right now. There's the rotation at this point. It appears to have weakened a little bit, but don't let your guard down. If you live in Justice, Hickory Hills, Burbank, it's headed in your direction. General motion is off to the east. You can see the speed continues to be very fast. Look at that estimate, 71 miles per hour. That's how fast it's moving. So this is really moving at a fast clip toward the lakefront. So all of these communities you see here seek shelter right now. It is approaching Cicero Avenue at this point. Now, some of the Doppler radar information that I'm looking at here is showing it weakening somewhat, but still keep your guard up, because what we've seen now is this is a confirmed tornado on the ground. We've seen the debris being lofted into the atmosphere up to around 10,000 feet. So you're going to see stuff flying around, and we have no idea at this point what the damage is like on the ground. I can assume that we've got power lines down, we've got trees down, and we have structures that have been damaged across DuPage County. And again, you see where this circulation is showing here. The flashing red and black there are indicating that active tornado warning continues. And again, you saw that general motion, 71 miles per hour. This thing is really accelerated as it races toward the lakefront. So you look at some of these communities in the path, Burbank, get to shelter right now. If you're in Hometown, Evergreen Park, Oak Lawn, you remember back in the 60s what happened in Oak Lawn. Let's not let any damage continue there, or human collateral damage. Get into a strong interior room. Get away from windows. Get to the center of the basement. Right here, we're starting to see some circulation right around Burbank and Bridgeview. Again, this is one of the indications that we've got some strong rotation. Right in here, you can see that this is a strong rotation that is moving off to the east again at 71 miles per hour. And this is part of a whole pattern along this line of thunderstorms, of these little inflow notches. And there you see it being indicated right around Bridgeview and Burbank. And again, moving off to the east. Let's talk about what's in front of that. Let's get really close and show you what we've got here. Here's Evergreen Park. And you start to get a little closer to the Dan Ryan Expressway eventually, or actually the Bishop Ford here, and moving off to the east. So this isn't moving right into the city of Chicago. This is moving around 95th Street in that area, moving off to the east at around 70 miles per hour. So again, very strong rotation. Can we show that circulation of the debris again to give you an idea of the confirmation of what we're seeing? Here's a little closer look. There's some of the circulation at this point right on Bridgeview, moving toward Hometown. You see some of the other areas here out toward 90, 94, and eventually toward the lakefront. Here's the debris in the air you're seeing right here. So there is lofted damage. We're seeing pieces of structure, tree limbs, rooftops. That's what's being detected by the Doppler radar aloft. So a dangerous situation moving right toward Midway Airport. We're seeing this all moving off to the east at around 71 miles per hour. Pete, this is a dangerous situation. We have to express that you need to get to shelter now if you're not in a safe place, and that would be a strong interior room away from windows. I see you've got more of that rotation tracker up there. What's the model guidance predicting?
Yeah, now when we show this rotation tracker, Brant, it's not precise, so we're not looking at exact locations. However, this still gives us an indication of the potential spin that's in the atmosphere. It's the spin that we're seeing right now that has produced not only the tornado warnings, but the tornado touchdown. And as we put this into motion, it does show it over the course of the next hour or so, weakening a little bit. However, we already have the spin that's going on here, so we're going to continue to see, at least for the next hour, the opportunity for these tornado warnings to spin their way on up. So here's a look at Stormcast. We'll start at 11:30 and we'll take you through the next 2 hours. These storms, again, have continued to accelerate. That's kind of the good news, bad news. The good news is they're accelerating. The bad news is that acceleration has increased the prospect for severe weather, but you can see most of the activity moving its way on out by 2 o'clock in the morning. So things will be quieting down over the course of the next 2.5 hours or so. But one thing that I like to point out, and I've done this with school talks before with storms and how they're working their way on through, particularly where we're looking at severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, we have winds that are being created by these severe thunderstorms. So it's a combination of adding the speed from the wind that is being produced by the thunderstorm to go along with the speed of the storm itself. So you can see where the blue box is. This is where we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. If we have a storm that's traveling at 50 miles an hour and it creates a wind gust of 50 miles an hour, you can add those two numbers together, and all of a sudden you have a 100-mile-an-hour wind, which is certainly as strong as an EF3 tornado. So that's how, even though a lot of times we don't have a tornado warning associated with storms, we can still have very gusty winds. It's the same principle you can kind of apply if you think about it. You're on a freight train, and that freight train is heading forward at 50 miles an hour, and you throw a ball in the direction of the train's movement. You can add those two numbers together, and you get at a fast-moving wind gust that can create plenty of damage. So we still have one active tornado warning here until midnight. We have another one until 11:45 just to the south. And then, of course, overall in this larger area encompassing the blue, we have the severe thunderstorm warning. And that is, again, due to the rapid movement of this storm. We've seen numerous reports of wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour, approaching 70 miles an hour and faster. And that's a combination of the speed of the storm, plus when we see these heavy downpours with these shades of red here, where we're looking at very intense rainfall. As that rain is coming down, it's tugging the air with it, and it is creating a very strong downdraft. Downdrafts that can not only produce the gusty winds that we're seeing out of some of these thunderstorms, but also enhance the prospect of a tornado spin up by adding to it. And I'm hearing another warning going off in my ear, Brant. Let's check in with you and see what's the latest on that particular warning.
It's continuing to the lakefront. That's the warning from the National Weather Service. Now, Mike Lorber has been texting us, and he's saying in Woodridge there is damage to structures. There may be a leaking gas line. We're starting to get preliminary damage reports. So this is a real mess. There are building collapses being reported from Mike Lorber. We're affecting crews to get in that direction and find out. But again, we're looking at a situation of safety to get there. Here is a circulation that you're seeing. There's Bridgeview. We have two active tornado warnings at this point, red and blue boxes flashing there. So if you're in Bridgeview, or you're in Burbank, you're in Oak Lawn, that circulation is embedded in this line. Look what's up in here. We're seeing some more circulation here, these little inflow notches. And Evergreen Park, it's approaching you at this point. So get into your safe place. We talk about this over and over and over again. Tonight is the night to really exhibit getting that safe place right now. Get into it. Your basement, strong interior room away from windows. Here's debris tracker. It has lofted debris into the atmosphere that's almost to the lakefront. So this thing is moving. Pete was talking about how the combined rotation as well as the general motion of the wind and the outflow, this is headed to the lakefront at about 70 miles per hour. And you can see that debris here being lofted from the area where the thunderstorms are located, and that circulation is where we actually have the confirmed tornado on the ground. So at this point, we're looking at rotation. The rotation does not look as active as it did before, but don't let your guard up. We still have those flashing boxes, which are an active tornado warning. And this isn't just radar indicated. Again, this is one on the ground that moved through the Woodridge area and is pushing toward the lakefront at this point. You see the flashing warnings here, and this is kind of scary because right now that line of thunderstorms has outrun the warning box. That's how fast it's moving east. So don't assume that just because you're not encompassed in that red and black flashing area that you're safe, because that line is advancing very quickly to the lakefront. This is going to wind up right at the lakefront and push across into northwest Indiana. So this is not ending anytime soon. Let's talk about damage assessment. If you've got a roof blown off, get inside, stay inside. Don't go outside at this point and try to assess the damage. If there's a tree limb that's pushed through your house, try to find a safe place and wait this out. Power lines down, as Mike Lorber mentioned, a gas line situation. So we have Mike Lorber at this point. Mike, are you with us?
Brent, I'm here with you, yes.
What are you hearing as far as damage, Mike?
So in the last 10 minutes or so, I've been listening to what's called the DEWCOM South scanner frequency. That's southern DuPage County. They're focusing on the area around 78th Street, Janes, and Woodridge Drive. So this would be located just west of 355, just south of 75th Street. Lots of dispatch calls, and again, I want to emphasize this is all dispatch. They're talking about partial building collapses, a gas leak, a structure fire, power lines down, and trees down on cars, talking about the whole area being completely impassable there on Janes Drive and again on Woodridge Drive, that area just south of 75th Street, right in that area where you had mentioned that you had information that a tornado had touched down. They also use the term tornado several times in their dispatches.
And Mike, we did see that debris ball being lofted into the atmosphere that would indicate that we have had some serious damage across DuPage County in the Woodridge area. Stay with us if you would, Mike. Let's go a little farther to the east and let's show where that line is right now and where it's approaching. And again, danger still with us, approaching the Skyway here. And I mentioned this just a few minutes ago. The thunderstorm has outrun the tornado warning box. You can see it's almost half the distance there. So this thing is racing to the lakefront at this point. Anywhere in here, we could see a spin up. Mike, what kind of reports are you hearing from other parts of the area other than Woodridge?
Well, I focused in on that. We were listening to the what's called the Tri-State Fire Dispatch, too. That's east of there in Darien, Westmont, that area. They're more in preparation mode, but hadn't had any word of damage. I just kind of focused in on that area, the entire DUCOM South. The one other thing I want to add, though, and you had mentioned this before, that area in Woodridge, west of 355, densely populated. You've got a lot of townhomes and a lot of homes that are really, really close to each other. So flying debris, obviously a concern there. And again, the dispatcher is talking about the entire area being completely impassable at this time.
Stay with me. We need to talk a little bit about what to do if you have had damage. Stay inside your house. Don't try to venture out and assess the damage. You don't know in the dark if a power line is lying on the ground. You mentioned that gas leak. For there to be a gas leak, that sounds to me like a structure has been heavily damaged to tear the gas line out at this point, and we're going to have to wait for emergency crews to get there. If you have had injuries, use that 911. That's what it's there for. If you know someone that's injured, and if you can look across the street and check on your neighbors. Don't venture out, but if you see a sign that everything is okay, and it's going to be difficult too if the power is out, to assess the damage and check on your neighbors and friends. But if your cell phone's still working, call them, call your neighbors, call your family, and see how they fared as this line of thunderstorms continues to move to the east. And again, this is remarkable. We still have officially those flashing boxes, the tornado warning, but look at where the leading edge of this is. It's already well past. In fact, it's over down toward Bedford Park. The line has pushed through there, but rapidly all of this is moving off to the east into Lake Michigan. So again, we'll be with you overnight tonight. This is a continuing situation. It's turning more from a weather event to a news event as far as finding out how much damage has actually occurred. And Mike, will you please stay on top of all of the information? And obviously we're probably not going to fly Sky 5 right away in the morning until these lines are out of here. But we'll be looking at some of that damage and assessing it from the air throughout the day tomorrow. So please stay with us on the scanner this evening. Will you, Mike?
We'll do that.
All right, thank you, Mike Lorber, and giving us some information that in Woodridge we've had reports of structure collapses. We've had damage of a gas leak perhaps there, and you may be without power at this point. And again, we've got some heavy rainfall, obvious stuff too, that if you've got a down power line, don't go out, especially when it's raining. So hunker down. Wait this line out. You can already see if you're in Downers Grove, it's over at that point. Wheaton, it's over. You may see some light rain showers, but certainly not the damaging winds and tornadic activity. Look what's upstream. The all clear is there, but we still have to deal with this line that's not only moving off to the south ever so slowly, but it's pushing off to the east too. So rather than being a cold front that just kind of marches north-south, this thing is kind of draping through and really kicking up some dangerous weather as we continue into the evening. Still the active tornado warnings officially. Let's get really close on this again and look at when it's about to hit the lakefront. And that's very soon now. In the next 5 minutes, it's there. It's on the lakefront at this point. So if you're in Whiting, Indiana, East Chicago, Hammond, down toward Lansing. This thing is on you right now. Severe thunderstorm warning there. And again, this may have that caveat that a tornado is possible. But we're looking at damage, and we'll continue to assess the situation. If you're in Northwest Indiana, get to your safe place, strong interior room, away from windows, center of the basement. Pete, what do you have at this point?
Brant, just been watching this line along with you, and I'm kind of getting the feel here, especially with the southern end of this. You remember the derecho that we had last year? I want to say it was in the month of July, where we had a long, fast-moving line of thunderstorms that created wind damage throughout the city. And I'm kind of getting the feel with that, with the southern flank of this as it pushes its way now into Northwest Indiana. So I was just looking at one of our cameras on Michigan Avenue here, and the rain is coming down in sheets with the wind that is being created as well, and of course a lot of lightning strikes. But notice how this line right here is starting to bow just a little bit. And as we see that movement, as these storms continue to progress with this little bow pushing its way on out like that, this is where, one, we can see more of those little inflow notches, but two, the gustiest of the winds. So this is why, I'm kind of getting the sense on a much smaller scale of that derecho that we went through in the summer of 2020 that had power outages that affected the city for upwards of a week in some locations, particularly on the north side. This storm, once it first reached the area, we had storm cells that were moving 20 to 30 miles an hour, but now 50 to 60 mile an hour storm cells that are moving. So we've seen a rapid acceleration in this. I've removed the watch boxes and the warning boxes from this so you could see this. But again, here we are. This is eastern Kankakee County and then into Northwest Indiana. So if you're in St. John and Cedar Lake, be ready, because the storms are going to be on top of you. Even though there's no warning associated with you right now, there could very well be in the upcoming minutes here as the storm continues to work its way on off to the east. Brant, what's the latest now from Woodridge?
What we're hearing is near Naperville, we've had reports of at least 3 people injured at this point, reports of gas leaks. Let me reiterate what we heard from Mike Lorber just minutes ago. That's in the Woodridge area. Damage to a structure, also a report of a gas leak. I don't know if that's the same one. A lot of trees down, a lot of the streets impassable because of that tree damage, and partially because perhaps of the tornado, but what you pointed out is the straight line winds that may be associated with this line moving through. As Pete was explaining just a few minutes ago, this thing's been moving at 70 miles per hour. Look at this. Those are the boxes that are the active tornado warnings. They've just been canceled at this point, but you can see how this line of thunderstorms has there you go, right as I mentioned that, they go away. But that line of thunderstorms has outrun the warning boxes. That's how fast this stuff is moving, east at around 70 miles per hour. So if you're watching in Northwest Indiana, in Lake and Porter counties, take shelter now. Let's be proactive. Let's not wait till the line gets close. Don't go outside to look at it because it's rain wrapped. And we've got also reports now coming in that carports and gazebos, and this is one of those events where the backyard trampoline may be blocks away. A lot of damage that we're still beginning to assess. So we've sent Storm Chaser out into the western suburbs, out toward Woodridge. And now let me get back to safety. Across Lake and Porter counties, get into your safe place. Interior room, away from windows. If you're fortunate enough to have a basement, get to the center of the basement. As Pete mentioned, great idea. Take your cell phone or your smart tablet with you. Take the power cord with it and make sure it's charged. That's one of the things too. Whenever there's severe weather, make sure that your phone is charged so you can watch what we're doing. This is streaming on our NBC Chicago channel, so you can see it on the internet and on your phone. And again, across Lake and Porter counties, this isn't going away. It is rapidly moving to the east at around 70 miles per hour. So the damage will continue to push eastward. And again, there's a severe thunderstorm warning in effect till 1 o'clock in the morning. You can see that encompasses Porter County and goes farther to the south down toward Lowell. And once again, this has that caveat that a tornado is possible. So we've had a history now of tornadoes on the ground. Let's get an idea of what we're seeing here as far as the rotation tracker. Look at how much this has changed. We're not seeing that big, that blob of rotation that I saw across DuPage County and the Woodridge area. A little more weak, but still with that S shape, which is indicative of something going on, some rotation down toward Moni. And look at this, when we confirm that, there's that little inflow notch there. Anywhere along this line where you see those little inflow notches, little divots, there could be some circulation, some rotation taking place. What is good news looking there is we're not seeing that really strong rotation signature that we saw across DuPage County and the Woodridge area. It looks like in some respects, as Pete pointed out, this thing may be becoming more of a squall line or a line of strong winds, straight line winds rather than rotation. We're not seeing as much rotation being exhibited there along this line. But that can be just as damaging if you add the general motion that this thing's moving at 70 miles per hour. 70 mile per hour wind can do a lot of damage. So if you're in the Lake and Porter counties, be aware that this is rapidly moving in your direction and continuing the hazard there as we move off to the east. And you can see the active tornado warnings at this point have expired. Let's widen out a little more here and see where the backside of the system is. And the all clear out toward Rockford will wind up, as Pete had mentioned in the forecast earlier this evening, we're going to wind up seeing the skies clearing out there. We'll see a much cooler day tomorrow, but still the threat now of that severe weather across our southern counties, across southern Cook County, into Will County, and across northwest Indiana, and even along the lakeshore over toward Berrien County in Michigan. Look at the stuff that's sitting out over Lake Michigan. That's going to impact any of our viewers that are over toward Bridgman and over into Berrien County. That storm is continuing to move there. Have we got the lightning turned on this? Now let's take a look at that. Sometimes the lightning gives you a good idea of how much activity is going on. And yeah, there's still a lot of lightning. Let's talk safety there too. Outside, there is no safe place when there's lightning. Get inside a building, get inside your car, and wait the line out at this point. And so let's turn the lightning off so you get the idea that it's still there. And we're continuing to see all this activity pushing off to the south and east. Right now, we have, if I've got this correct, we have no active tornado warnings at this point. Am I correct there? I'm correct. Just severe thunderstorm warnings, but with that caveat across northwest Indiana that a tornado is still possible. So we'll stay on the air here for a little while longer, especially across northwest Indiana, to give you an idea of what's going on as this line continues to push eastward. Stormcast has been uncanny the last couple of hours and even into the early evening, and Pete and I have been watching this thing all day long today. I think our first conversation, Pete, was at 9 o'clock this morning. We were going through that, and hour by hour we've been anguishing. What is this thing going to do? And it certainly has done some damage, especially in the Woodridge area, where we've had confirmed reports of a tornado touchdown. We've seen a debris ball aloft, and now straight line winds moving toward northwest Indiana. What Stormcasts say in our crystal ball into the future? How long is this going to be with us in northwest Indiana? Pete?
Yeah, Brant, we have been, like you said, been talking about it all day long, and we were always watchful of this, because this was going to be the finality of it all, the cold front as it pushed its way on through. It was always going to be hit or miss. There was the possibility of seeing some severe weather earlier in the day, but that was always going to be a little bit more hit or miss compared to the line of storms that are moving their way on through. So here's the latest model information from Stormcast. And again, as you can see, it's come to an end in the northwest suburbs, just a few rain showers. So we still have a couple more hours here, 12:05, 12:10, into 12:20, 12:30. We're still dealing with some thunderstorms, gusty thunderstorms in northwest Indiana right up until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Finally here, 1:35, 1:40, we're finally seeing the rain exiting northwest Indiana, at least as far as the intense thunderstorms go. That's kind of the bad news, all of this, because as Brant has been mentioning here, we have numerous reports of damage from these thunderstorms, from the tornado, and also from the gusty winds. We've had power outages. We have damage to buildings, gas outages as well, and even some fires that have been created here. And it's all associated with these very strong winds that are continuing to blow as the storm continues to push its way on out. So we've seen the heavy rain earlier in the city. It's starting to at least wind its way on down in the loop in the downtown area. But we're still looking at the heavy rain. And here's the issue that we're seeing, especially in the southern suburbs right now, in parts of Will County into southern Cook County, where we've had numerous damage reports. Notice how that line of rain continues to extend down to the south and west. So as it continues to push its way on off to the east, we still have a little while left here of some very heavy rain before any real assessment of the damage can be done. So if you are really in distress, that's your opportunity to dial 911. If you are not, if you're okay, if you're just worried what's going on, just stay tuned to us. Listen to us. We'll let you know what's going on. There's no need to dial 911 if it is a non-emergency, because I'm quite sure right now they're dealing with enough emergencies as it is with all of this rain moving its way on through. So we're starting to see again that rain push its way on off into northwest Indiana here. And again, as we see these storm cells bow their way on out, right out in advance of this is where we're seeing those very gusty winds. We've seen the storms accelerating throughout the evening, and as these storms accelerated and they pushed the wind out in front of it with these intense downpours, where we're seeing these shades of red here, we're looking likely at rainfall rates of approaching 2 inches an hour, which is a lot of rain in a very short period of time. So very intense downpours associated with this, and those intense downpours are going to produce some very heavy gusty winds out ahead of it. So again, Cedar Lake, Lowell, get ready. You're going to be looking at some very gusty winds, because as you can see, now that severe watch box extends well into Porter County in northwest Indiana, and the rain hasn't even approached yet. However, because of the fast movement of these storm cells, we're looking at the storms moving rapidly and that rain moving in and out pretty quickly as well. Notice here, let's go into DeKalb County and also into Kane County. We've dropped the severe thunderstorm watch. So that's the good news. The watch boxes in the area that is under the watch has started to drop, and it looks like LaSalle County has been dropped as well, at least as far as the watch goes. Even though the thunderstorms continue to exist there, they're moving out rather rapidly at that. So let's zoom back on in here. The good news is we still don't have any active severe tornado warnings, so we've kind of eliminated those, at least for the time being. But with the fast movement of these storm cells and the little bowing that's going on right in front of this particular line of storms as it moves into northwest Indiana, can't rule out the possibility. We've already seen there's enough rotation in the atmosphere, could spin something else up here. So we'll continue to monitor this for a little while longer here, but as you can see, we're looking at very intense rain as it continues to push its way on out. And of course, we have the frequent lightning strikes that we've been watching as well. This has been a very active evening after a mostly quiet day, Brant.
You know, a heck of a way to end a Father's Day, isn't it? We're past that, almost past that at this point. Pete, we are both, we know enough about construction to be dangerous. I've remodeled a house. You're a great cabinet maker. Let's talk safety stuff here. If you've got a basement and you find out the sump pump didn't work and it's flooded, don't go down there. If there's the potential that an outlet could be submerged, there's a huge electrocution hazard there. Leave it alone. Don't try to mitigate at this point. The damage is probably done if your basement's flooded. Deal with it tomorrow. Get an electrician to pull the power meter, shut the breakers off, do all the things you can for safety, because it's a dangerous situation here. If you've got a tree limb that's down over your house, if you've got a power line that's down, stay in your safe place and wait until all of this is pushed off to the east. It's moving very quickly, and as Pete pointed out toward DuPage County, we're not seeing a whole lot going on. We still have a little bit of rotation. There's Monee, there's Crete. You can see it's down toward Beecher, and we're going down toward Kankakee County. we're going to keep an eye on this as this crosses the state line. And again, that rotation is back here. It's not necessarily right out in front here where this little line is. It's in these little inflow notches back in here. So we're going to keep our guard up as that moves into Lake and Porter counties in northwest Indiana. Mike Lorber was with us earlier, and he was reporting some damage in Woodridge. We saw a debris ball that was lofted 10,000 feet in the air as that tornado confirmed on the ground moved through there. Mike is once again with us. What is the latest information you can share, Mike?
So this, again, was what has been dispatched, and I really want to emphasize at that point that these are scanner dispatches and haven't been visually confirmed from the ground yet. But James Drive and John Quill Drive, there was a dispatch, and they said several structure collapses in the area. So that was one area of main concern. Another gas main that had been struck on James Drive right in that area as well. They're shutting down James Drive. Again, they call the entire area impassable. There have, unfortunately, been a dispatch or two of injuries involved, and again, we're not sure if those are related or not. Also got a message from a friend in Naperville saying there may be an immense amount of damage near 1800 Princeton in Naperville, which is located just west of that area where the tornado, as you said, was reported to touch down in Woodridge. So just west of that, basically, as you mentioned, coming across on 75th Street, and doing the worst amount of damage just west of 355, just south of 75th Street. We've already got crews on the way, and we'll see what kind of damage is done. Hopefully the injuries aren't too bad, but the most worrisome things we hear about are the reports of, quote, multiple structure collapses in the area. You talked about it's dark. They're still getting to the scene. Their staging may take a while before they can really decipher the amount of damage that's been done there, and hopefully the injuries aren't too severe.
And Mike, as we stressed earlier, stay in your safe place. If you've got damage to your structure, obviously if there's a gas leak, you have to escape and get away from it. But all the safety things that we've heard for years and years and years come into play at this point, especially if you've had damage to the structure, if you've got power out, and obvious things like if the power's out, don't go outside and trying to figure out what's going on. Leave that to ComEd or your local electric company and let them deal with that in the nighttime hours. In the daytime, they're prepared there. Pete pointed out if you've got a medical emergency, don't mess around. Call 911. If you can avoid calling 911 with frivolous phone calls, that's going to help first responders get to the damage a little faster and get the help to people who need the help. So we're in a situation where the weather is still active across Lake and Porter counties in northwest Indiana. As Pete pointed out, we do not have at this point an active tornado warning, but we have a severe thunderstorm warning with that caveat that a tornado is possible. So if you're in Lake County, Maryville, you can see here's 65 US 30 crossing through Maryville. That line is on you at this point and continuing to push eastward. And the general motion has been extremely fast, moving around 70 miles per hour. Our crews are on the way to the western suburbs. You can still see some rain there at that point, and we'll stay with you as they approach as we assess some of that damage that Mike Lorber has been reporting. The active weather continues across northwest Indiana, stretching all the way out through Will County and Kankakee County. Still active severe thunderstorm warnings with the potential that we could still see a spin up of a tornado. So again, keep your guard up here over the next several hours. And again, we have a new tornado warning. Let's widen out and let's find that one now. It's right in here. It'll take a second for this to clear and populate, but we've just received that over the National Weather Service communication channel. And again, there it is, right there. You see it populating that red and black flashing area across Lake and a part of Porter counties down into Newton and Jasper counties. And still a little piece of, looks like Will County and Kankakee County, just to the edge of Kankakee County. So again, this line is moving to the east. This is an active tornado warning until 12:45 a.m. And again, we're looking for rotation. Take a look here. We're not seeing the rotation that we saw in Naperville and Woodridge, but still a dangerous situation. Once again, across Crown Point, Indiana, Cedar Lake, up into Maryville. Again, this line is moving off to the south and east. And what's interesting about this is we saw the shear indication with the confirmed tornado on the ground in Woodridge, very tight. But look at this. This is a whole line of shear that stretches all the way out to the lakefront and down toward Kankakee County. So anywhere along this line we could see, and there it is. Take a look at that. You see this, and in here there's these little notches, and that's where we're seeing that potential for circulation, and that's why the National Weather Service has issued that tornado warning until 12:45. And again, here we go again with stretching, and if I'm saying this over and over and over again, please bear with me because there are people who are tuning in for the first time as the storm approaches. Safety, safety, safety. Get to your safe place, and if you don't know where that is, we'll help you find it. Strong interior room, like a basement. Get to the center of the basement, not the southwest corner as you've heard for years and years, because there's been a study that that's actually a place, if the tornado approaches, it could cause the building to collapse and you'd be under it and obvious stuff. Center of the basement, something like a stairway, workbench, something like that that you could hide underneath. If you don't have a basement, what do? First floor of whatever structure you're in, a strong interior room like a bathroom. That's a great place because there's all the construction around it to support the pipes and the plumbing. And get in there, and as crazy as it sounds, take a comforter or a blanket and cover your head and climb in the bathtub. We've had numerous reports of people who have survived damaging tornadoes and wind events by just riding it out in the bathtub. And that is a last resort, but it could be an effective one. If you live on the second floor, get to a lower floor, stay away from windows. And we've heard reports too of what do you do in a high rise? Get away from the windows. First thing, and wait it out in a hallway, away from any flying glass. Now, this is a situation where we don't have a lot of high-rise construction across northwest Indiana. But again, as Mike Lorber pointed out too, you get down toward Crown Point, 20 years ago, not a whole lot of houses there, but now they're packed all along that corridor, along 65. A lot of houses, little debris on one house coming apart, moving to the next one, so dangerous situation. Stay in your safe place. Pete, what have you got?
Well, Brant, we're going to show you what's going to be going on as far as the rest of the evening goes. And here's a look at Stormcast. And actually, Stormcast is kind of having a hard time at this point keeping up with the speed of the storm. But we will be seeing the rain, the storms moving their way through northwest Indiana. Here we go, 1240, 1245, continuing with the gusty winds. And it won't be until after 1:30 that we at least see it exiting our neck of the woods, Newton, Jasper, and Lake and Porter counties in northwest Indiana, before it finally pushes its way on out. So it's the strong gusty winds that are being created by the speed of these storms. So that's why, again, we have that severe thunderstorm warning, and we also have the tornado warning that is in effect. Here we're looking at this arc of rain kind of bowing its way on out as it pushes its way on off to the east. So we continue to have that tornado warning that's in effect for parts of Lake, Porter, Newton, and Jasper counties. That is until 12:45 this morning. So we have another 40 minutes to go as far as that one goes. And then the rest of northwest Indiana and then back into Illinois, that's where we have that severe thunderstorm warning. That is in effect until 1 o'clock this morning because, again, these storms are continuing to work their way on through. We'll zoom on in a little bit because, as you can see, where we're seeing these lighter shades of green of Kane County into DuPage County, Will County, and also into Kendall County. So we've had some very gusty winds that have been associated with a lot of these thunderstorms as they slowly continue to push their way on through. The good news is we're seeing an end to the severe thunderstorm watch off to our north and west. but we continue to see the gusty winds, the very heavy rain, and of course that prospect of the possibility of a tornado spinning up in northwest Indiana. Brant, what's the latest on that?
Latest, we still have that active tornado warning, Pete, for northwest Indiana. I'm seeing some rotation near Hobart, Maryville, Cedar Lake, over toward Beecher. And once again, that's all along this line. Everywhere you see these little notches in here, you could see a spin up and stretching all the way over toward Beecher over here. So along this line, beware, because there is the potential that we could see a fast spin up of a tornado. Certainly some damaging winds. And earlier, Pete, you pointed out the fact that we're beginning to see this bow. And we call it a bow echo, and you see that shape here where it's convex. It's pointing out in this direction, and that's telling me that the winds are accelerating. We talked earlier about some of these winds exceeding 70 miles per hour as it continues to move eastward. So we have an active tornado warning until 1245. This line is going to outrun this box. That's how fast it's going. So if you're in Porter County, there's Valpo. You can see a couple of thunderstorms to the north. Seek shelter now. Don't wait for this line to get there. Get to your safe place, wait it out, and we'll continue to monitor the situation and keep you up to date. 1245 is the official time, but this is going to cook as it moves off to the east and move through Porter County, Newton and Jasper counties to the south. Mike Lorber is staying with us this evening, and Mike, we'll quick look at the rotation. We're not seeing some of that really aggressive rotation that we saw earlier that was in Naperville, but still Cedar Lake, heavily populated area here. There's a look at what we're seeing. There's some perhaps in here where that Cedar Lake is. There's an inflow notch that's right there. There could be some circulation. I'm also seeing that here. So it's coming up on 2:31 at this point. So Mike Lorber was with us earlier. Mike, you have some further information about the damage out there toward Warrenville. What have you got for us?
In Naperville, actually, Brant. So this is located at 1801 on Princeton. We're talking maybe about a half a mile east of Naper Boulevard, and we're just south of 75th Street. So this is the damage that hit there first before the tornado report of a touchdown that you talked about in Woodridge, which did all the damage on James and on Woodridge about 7800 south. So there's an EMS call, an EMS Plan 1 call. Again, that's a 5 ambulance response, 1801 Princeton in Naperville for tornado damage. They are staging on 75th Street. Calls of immense amount of tornado damage there. And again, with those 5 ambulances calling in, unfortunately, there are a report of some injuries there. We also had some injuries reported, what I mentioned in Woodridge before, around 78th and James, 78th in Woodridge, with structure collapses that have been dispatched, a gas main hit, fire reported, several lines down in the area as well. So as you mentioned before, going right across 75th Street, just south of there, that area between east of Naper Boulevard and then to James, which is just west of 355, that seems to be the epicenter, if you will, of the most amount of damage that I've heard of so far. Crews are still responding to this. It's a slower response. It's dark out. Some of these roads are impassable, so they take some time to get there. But they're calling in a lot of help from several other suburbs in the area to keep coming in there to those 2 locations, one in Woodridge, one 1801 in Princeton in the Naperville area.
Mike, where the response with the 5 ambulances, any idea what the structure is there? Is that perhaps single-family homes, apartment house? Do you have any idea?
It appears to be a single-family home area. Just for one on there, I quickly just kind of looked it up on the map, and that's what it appears to be. Not as densely populated as that Woodridge area, though, that we talked about, just west of James there in 355. Those are a lot of structures very close to each other. You've got a combination of, if you know about Woodridge, that kind of has that little area that kind of goes in a circle. You've got some homes that are kind of like elevated a bit more, and then you've got a lot of townhouses and condominiums and apartments that are closer together as well.
And that's a situation that we've talked about. We've built up Chicagoland, and we have a lot of buildings in close proximity to each other, and damage to one can go to the next, to the next, to the next, and that's the situation at this point. Mike, please keep us updated on what's happening there. I know you're on with the scanners, and any further information, let's get right to you. Let's continue to talk about the active tornado warning until 12:45. You see the flashing red and black box here. That's across Lake and Porter County in northwest Indiana. And look at the timeline here. We're at 12:12 at this point, so another, say, half an hour. Look where this is already. And this is the same thing that happened earlier on the Illinois side of the storm line. Is the storm is outrunning the warning box. So you have to kind of be your own forecaster here. It's moving at 45 miles per hour. So if you're in Valparaiso, don't wait. You may be right outside the warning box. The warning is inconsequential at this point. Get into your shelter at this point. And that would be a strong interior room away from windows, center of the basement, and we've talked about this over and over, first floor, because this line is really moving off to the east very quickly. And along it, we're seeing down towards South Haven, I'm seeing east of Maryville, Lake of Four Seasons, Lake of DeCarlia. We're seeing, and some of these towns, the people that live there are the ones that know where it is. A lot of us in Chicagoland, there's so many little communities, difficult to pinpoint all of them and visit all of them. Look at Lowell, Indiana. You can see here that squiggly green line indicates that we're still seeing some rotation, but nothing like the rotation that we saw earlier in that area in Naperville and Warrenville with a confirmed touchdown of a tornado there. Again, here's the box, that flashing red and black box indicating where the active tornado is until 12:45, and you can see that line quickly advancing off to the east. Back to the west, we still have an active severe thunderstorm warning, but as Pete has pointed out, to the north and west, you've got the all clear. In fact, the active severe thunderstorm watch has been dropped, as you've pointed out, Pete. So we still keep our eye on northwest Indiana, and we're waiting for Mike Lorber to give us some more information. And of course, he mentioned our crews are on the way out to the western suburbs. Pete?
Yeah, we'll touch on those northwest suburbs in a moment. But first, Brant, you had that rotation detector, and one of the things that we like to see in that is, is an S shape. And the more pronounced that S shape is, the more rotation there is there, and it is starting to take on a little bit more of an S shape. So this area, again, where we're looking at the tornado warning in effect for Lake and Porter counties in northwest Indiana, we continue to see, especially around Lowell, this is the location where we're seeing the most rotation within the storm cell. But as Brant pointed out, this is a really rapid moving storm now. It is really accelerated, so the likelihood of it extending past its watch box here, and again, this continues until 12:45, the likelihood is very high. As we go on off to the northwest suburbs, though, notice the rain is gone, so is the watch box. So the all clear in the northwest suburbs. The focus right now really on the southern suburbs and into northwest Indiana.
Pete, we're getting another tornado warning, and we've gotten the warning before we even get it plotted on our machine here, because it takes some time to clear all the hurdles to get onto the air. But this is a downstream warning for this line. So we talked about getting to your safe place in Valpo. Do it now, because you now have an active tornado warning that'll populate here. And just stay with us. And it stretches all the way up to the lakefront. And so this line of thunderstorms continues to press off to the east with, here it is. You see it popping up here. That continues over toward, looks like South Haven is the eastern extent of that. Here again, that flashing black and red box indicating an active tornado warning. And look at this little segment here. There's an inflow notch there by Ogden Dunes, and then you see this bowing out here. This is telling me the winds are accelerating as they're moving eastward. There's Chesterton, and what do we see here? Right in that area, we're starting to see some rotation just south of Portage, and again, these flashing red and black boxes where there is an active tornado warning, and that continues with this line moving eastward eastward. And again, let's talk safety. Get into your safe place. Into the basement, strong interior room away from windows. Do not go outside and take a look at this thing. You can't see it because these circulations are rain wrapped. And again, you can see an additional tornado watch here up towards South Haven, just south of Michigan City, and still an active tornado warning until 12:45. That encompasses part of Lake and Porter counties and pushing over toward Valparaiso. Valparaiso just kind of sitting in the corner right there, but still seek safety there because this whole line is moving eastward. And don't just look at these boxes to seek shelter and safety. That's just an approximate idea of where the storm is going. You have to be your own forecaster, and in doing that, seek shelter and have a plan. And that plan is the center of the basement, strong interior room away from windows, and the first floor. And again, active tornado warning continuing. And as Pete has pointed out, if you're out to the northwest suburbs, things have become rather quiet at this point, and we're assessing some of the damage. Storm Chaser is on the scene of one of the, I'm going to switch over on the other side here and I'll take a look at it with you. You see some of the emergency lights there. Storm Chaser has made it out to the western suburbs, and let's give you an idea of what we're seeing here. You can see a little bit of debris on the ground. In the distance, you can see it looks like emergency vehicles, like perhaps a fire engine, police in the foreground. And again, difficult to see at night what's going on there, but we'll have the crew out on the ground and taking a look at what's happening. And again, the damage that Mike Lorber was reporting was in the Naperville area. 5 ambulance response there. Woodridge, we had the report of structure collapse, gas line, some injuries. Earlier we had a report of at least 3 people injured. And I think we're going to see more of that sort of information as we roll through the overnight hours, since the emergency response is just getting to those locations in that Naperville, Woodridge area. If you have a medical emergency, call 911. But if it's not an immediate emergency, give those first responders a chance to get to those people that really need some assistance at this hour. And we'll continue to monitor the situation. Active tornado warnings across northwest Indiana, stretching from Lake to Porter counties, a little piece over here to the north, over east of the Chesterton area up through South Haven. And again, the timeline around 12:45. And these things are outrunning the boxes. So that fast movement off to the east continues to push that threat eastward. So now east at 60 miles per hour. So you get the general idea that not only tornado circulation, but there could be some damaging straight line winds as these push to the east. Pete?
Brant, saw a lot of traffic on that Storm Chaser camera. Did you notice all the cars driving through there?
Why?
Yeah, great question. If you do not, and again, we're seeing a lot of cars there. You can see the emergency vehicles there. Unless you're in distress and you need to get out of an area, boy, just stay put, because we got several things going on here. First, we've got down power lines. You have no idea where they are because it's dark out, of course. We've also got the possibility of some street flooding. We've had some very heavy rains falling over the course of the last couple of hours, and that can create some dangerous travel conditions with the possibility of some street flooding. We also have a lot of downed trees in a lot of the roads that are blocking the path. So what you're doing is, if you are out on the roads right now, unless you have someplace you absolutely have to be, all you're doing is clogging up the roads for the emergency vehicles that are out there. I'll add this in. We do have our Storm Chaser out there. And it's not clogging up the streets. It's actually helping to report on what's going on so that we can keep you, the viewer, updated on what's going on as well. So it is necessary that we have that vehicle out there. So again, if there's no need for you to be out and about, boy, just stay put. Believe me, a lot of the damage that we've been reporting on is likely going to be there in the morning. So here's a look at the current tornado warning that is in effect for northwest Indiana. It's in effect for another 25 minutes or so. We've been seeing some very gusty winds associated with this. The storm is moving off to the east at approximately 60 miles an hour, so it's really moving fast. Think about it, that's highway speed a lot of times at 60 miles an hour. So this thing is motoring its way on out of the area. So even if you're not in the direct path of the tornado per se, what we're seeing a lot is tornadoes can wobble as they move along, so they're don't necessarily go in a straight path. And we're also looking at some very gusty winds. You can see outside of this red box right here, we're looking at a blue box, which is a severe thunderstorm warning. And we've seen these thunderstorms produce winds in excess of 70 miles an hour at times. And when we have the trees that are fully leafed out like they are, those 70-mile-an-hour winds certainly capable of bringing down trees, especially after we've had the heavy rains, an opportunity to soak the ground a little bit, loosen up those roots. I know it's been very dry, but some locations have managed to pick up a little bit of rain over the last few days. And
is Laura on the line?
We've had the very heavy rains from today that have helped soften things up as well. So we'll slide this a little bit further southward because, again, we're still looking at, in the blue box, a severe thunderstorm warning. The rains are slowly but surely coming to an end off to the north and west. But as you can see, we also have this extension of the tornado warning that is now into portions of LaPorte County. We'll slide it on off to the west here because, as you can see, the rain's still coming down around Braceville. Here's I-55 headed toward Wilmington and Channahon. We're still looking at some pretty heavy rain coming down, even though we're not looking at any sort of severe weather. And we'll slide on over here into Kankakee County. Parts of the area is still under this severe thunderstorm warning. And we're still looking at some very gusty winds at times. Of course, very intense downpours. And with the prospect of that, even then, you can see the lightning strikes, we have the possibility of some sporadic power outages as well. So we'll continue to track this because, again, we still have an active tornado warning now that continues for Lake and Porter counties in northwest Indiana. That one in effect until 12:45. We've seen some rotation to go along with that storm as it pushes its way on through. And as you can see, the storms continue to accelerate. Off to our north and west, you see the watch box is continuing to shrink in size, so we're getting rid of the watch area as we see the cold front push its way on through. But you can see, again, the rain training. And so with the heavy rains that are coming down, especially where we're looking at the possibility of a tornado, so far we have just a radar indicated tornado, nothing touching down. But with the intense rain that's coming down here, it's going to be hard to see any tornado. So make sure you just stay indoors, listen to us. We'll keep you posted. In fact, Brant has word on another warning that's in effect.
Another warning over toward LaPorte County, Pete, and we're seeing some strong rotation near Westville. If you've gone along the tollway there, there's that toll plaza that's right there, that truck stop. And this is coming very close to that, running right down the tollway. You can see a new tornado warning here, and that's right there along the tollway headed eastward. And again, that continues the threat across northwest Indiana. Every one of those boxes flashing black and red is an active tornado warning. And we talked earlier about how this was moving so fast to the east that it was outrunning the box. You can see how this box is elongated more east-west in orientation for that line that continues to move eastward. And again, I'm seeing the best circulation there right around Westville, east of Chesterton, right along the tollway there. You were seeing some stronger rotation, so we have an active tornado warning continuing there. And take a look here. Well, here it is. There's Westville, and there's that active rotation that's occurring here. So this is moving off to the east very quickly, estimated at 56 miles per hour, perhaps even faster than that. We've seen some of these motions close to 70 miles per hour as this line continues to push eastward. We talked about this earlier. Pete touched on the fact, is this a derecho? Tornado for rotation, derecho for straight line wind event. This is what's known as a mesoscale convective complex. This is one of these systems that rumbles out of the plains, and it really is an indication of summertime in Chicago. About half the moisture we get in the summer is from systems like this, and it continues to push off to the east. Out to the west, there's a cold front, but this whole system has been a wave that's out in front of the actual cold front. So the front's there, but we're seeing all this active weather continuing just out in front of it. More delightful day coming tomorrow. And Mike Lorber continues to assess some of the damage. Here, seek shelter. If you're in Westville, if you're getting up toward the South Bend area, New Buffalo, you can see the line. And we're starting to get out toward Knox, and this is a more sparsely populated area, meaning that we don't have, as we talked with Mike about how in the area of Warrenville, you've got all the houses compact next to each other. Here it's getting to be a more agricultural area, but still seek shelter if you're watching us to the east over into LaPorte County and the Lake and Porter counties. Mike Lorber is back with us. Mike, you have some new information to share.
Hey, let me put my traffic reporter hat on here for a minute and talk about some road closures in the area. If you draw a square basically around the area of 75th and 355, if you go south of there, anything east of Naperville Boulevard over to Lamont Road, 75th down to 83rd, you're going to have significant traffic issues. You're going to have power lines down. You may have lights out. And now Lamont telling us Lamont Road is shut down north of 83rd up to Plainfield Road due to a lot of storm damage. So this may be more widespread than we thought because Lamont Road is east of 355. Everything that we've been talking about has been west of 355 near that kind of epicenter of 78th and Janes and Woodridge. And then again, that EMS Plan 1 box with the 5 ambulances that went to 1801 Princeton. Let's talk about that. That's just east of Naperville Boulevard, a little bit south of 75th Street. According to dispatch, what they're doing now is going through, searching through homes one by one. We don't know at this point how badly homes may be damaged to the area. But again, I think that EMS Plan 1 with the 5 ambulances could be, and this happens a lot, more of a precautionary thing. They want to stage the companies there, as you talked about. It's dark out. They don't know what they're dealing with. They're bringing in floodlights to see as well. So they are right now are just staging as much equipment as they can. They're 75th and Worley is what I'm being told, kind of in a large parking lot, taking from that staging area, going down to 1801 Princeton, going through the houses. Hopefully injuries aren't too bad there. So those two areas, again, 1801 Princeton, and then if you're just joining us, Woodridge, the area around Janes Boulevard, that's what runs parallel to 355 just to the west of it, and then about 7800 south, and then Woodridge Circle, the circle that runs through Woodridge around 7800. A lot of damage there, an unfortunate cause of a structure collapses and a gas line break and a structure fire, power lines down. Starting to see some videos out online as well and visually confirming everything we've been talking about on the newscast here.
Mike, and also while this was happening, we saw that debris ball that was lofted over 10,000 feet into the air. Storm Spotter said there was debris across 355. So what you're saying is from Naperville over toward Warrenville and then hopping across 355, confirmation there that there was some debris on 355, and then east of that over toward Darien. Now you're saying there's more damage in that area east of 355.
Right. Our friends over at Total Traffic confirming again that Lamont Road is shut down, and that's a half a mile east of 355. So not only from 355, but east of there, they've got Lamont Road shut down near Plainfield Road, I believe it was to 83rd Street, and that's because of debris and storm damage. They were able to call and verify that. So again, this is more widespread. With all the debris you talked about flying, yeah, that's more widespread than we thought. Could be anywhere from Naperville over to like the west end of Darien.
Oh, stay with me for just a second, Mike. I want to come back to you in just a moment. Let's reiterate what's happening here. We still have active tornado warnings stretching over toward LaPorte, down through Valparaiso. You see those flashing boxes. Seek shelter. It's once again what we saw on the Illinois side of the line of storms. They've outrun the warning boxes. That's how quickly this stuff is moving east. Some of the speeds have approached 70 miles per hour, pushing eastward. So seek shelter now. Strong interior room away from windows, center of the basement, first floor. And again, this is more of an agricultural area, not the densely populated area that's been impacted in Woodridge and Naperville and perhaps Darien. Mike, Pete pointed this out when we had Storm Chaser out there. People that are just driving around, gawkers, trying to look at this stuff. What's this? Please explain how dangerous that situation is to do this evening.
Well, I've seen it firsthand from the air, and one of the biggest things, too, and we already even talked about, is the accumulation of water and how there could be flooding in areas as well. And we've both talked on and on just about how dangerous it is for vehicles to go through water. We've seen rescues done where drivers are having to be pulled out of their cars by first responders in what doesn't seem to be a lot of water when you're driving up and you look at it and you think, hey, maybe I can get through this. But again, in a situation like this, where it's a Sunday night or late at night, you've got power lines down, and you kind of don't know what you're dealing with. So you can go out for a while until this thing passes a little bit. You've got the warning up until about 12:45, 1 o'clock. It's volatile, and now all of that warning that we've been talking about in Woodridge and all that, now that's over in Porter County as I'm looking on the screen here. Anybody down from Heber and all the way up to Michigan City, so really the entire stretch of Porter County, and that is an area, unfortunately, that I have covered a lot of storm damage in, so hopefully that won't be too bad. And it looks like we have some video in now from storm damage. That might be the Woodridge area.
That is Woodridge, Mike. If you stay with me, Phil Rogers has sent this in to us. You can see this mature tree there snapped. You see some of the responders walking around at this point, and notice that the houses, the lights are out. The power is out. So once again, we've got some down power lines in the area, and you can see that's Jonquil Lane. As we're looking there, you can see some extensive tree damage, and again, power is out in that area. If you don't have to drive there, don't go through that area. Please stay away. Let the first responders get there, and down power lines, certainly an issue at this point as we continue to track what's going on. And you can see that that mature tree snapped off there as these strong winds with a confirmed tornado on the ground. Phil Rogers is with us. Phil, I know from your days, old radio days in Oklahoma, what are you seeing there on the ground?
Well, and Brant, we certainly saw a lot of tornadoes there. I can tell you that here in Woodridge, it's obvious that something really big went through right exactly where you were describing it earlier, 75th and 355. Down on 355, there is a car. There's a great deal of debris on 355, tree debris. But also there's a car there that looks like it got caught up in the worst of it. The windshield is smashed. Airbags deployed. There's a state trooper there. I spoke with him for just a few minutes. He said that he did not believe the motorist was injured, and it's pretty incredible. And I'm going to be sending these pictures in to you, and you're going to be able to see just how heavily damaged this car is. So how that motorist made it through that isn't clear to me. But that car is pretty torn up, and there are big exit signs for the expressway just bent over. Now, those are frangible signs. They're designed to give way when something hits, something, smashes into them like a car. But they're just folded over, like a book would close. And now I am up in Woodridge on James Avenue, just south of 75th. And the street is closed off here, and it's obvious that something went through here. Now, this would be exactly perpendicular to where if this thing was going through and then hit 355. This is the back side of that, so this is where it would have gone through the neighborhood. I can't tell you exactly what the damage is here. We're also getting reports that east of 355, over in the area around the Ziegfeld-Troy golf course, there is also supposedly quite a bit of damage. We're going to take a look at that as well. So, Brant, we're not talking about just devastation, the kind that you would see in the aftermath of, say, a playing field, and we were all there, or when I was in Moore when we saw the F5. But It's obvious something pretty large went through here. They were blowing the sirens. We heard that out here, and this is the reason why.
And Phil, the video that we're sharing on the air is not a video that's associated with Phil. Phil's reporting what he's seen personally there. Now look at this. If you can see a monitor, or you can see on television, Phil, you can see a home here that the second floor is gone. And the damage that we actually saw on radar, the debris ball being lofted up to 10,000 feet. And in fact, that debris ball pushed farther ahead of the actual line of thunderstorms toward the lakefront. We tracked it moving out into Lake Michigan. So a lot of damage at this point that you can see, and the first responders, our live camera there, assessing the situation. This is in Woodridge, and we caution you, Pete pointed this out, do not drive into this area. Do not try to do a damage assessment. If you have a home that is without electricity at this point, shelter, wait for those first responders to arrive, and stay inside, to stay away from power lines and the obvious safety stuff. Quickly, let's reiterate where we still have an active tornado warning, and this is pushed toward LaPorte. We've got another one now that's farther to the south, and all of this is rapidly starting to move out of our viewing area over toward the South Bend area. That red and black flashing box indicating that once again we've got some kind of rotation that's taking place and continuing to move off to the east very quickly. As far as recovery in the areas that have been impacted by the tornado and straight line winds, everything's over. Things are quiet. This is some good news for first responders and anyone assessing the damage at this point. How long does this stick around for that part of the story? Let's toss it over to Pete Sack. Pete, what's Stormcast saying? And it's been rather uncanny today in predicting the timing of this, especially as we got into the afternoon hours.
Yeah, this, especially with the front too, it was doing a very good job. But Brent, I want to double back really quick. We saw the damage of that house on the second floor, and that's why Brant and I talk about getting into an interior room in the first floor. It's not a foolproof plan to be on the first floor. However, the first floor is typically, because it's got to support a second floor, much sturdier constructed than a second floor is. So that's why we want you to stay on the first floor, or even better yet, the basement if possible. It's always going to be a better option than the second floor. So here we go. Here's Stormcast here. This is at 12:35. Again, we're dealing with the storms in northwest Indiana. But as we put this in motion, it's not going to be much longer. The storms out to the west, those are weakening in intensity. We're mostly seeing just heavy rain out of that, and those two will be exiting. So by 2 o'clock, we'll see the rains finally coming to an end, at least in our portion of the viewing area. So we are seeing an end to that severe weather threat. And as Brant pointed out, now we've lost the watch box for Cook County as well as DuPage County and points north and westward. So the only remaining severe thunderstorm watch is for Grundy and Kendall counties, as well as Will, Kankakee County, and then into northwest Indiana, where we're still looking at, in addition to those two severe thunderstorm warning, or tornado warnings rather, we're still looking at the severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect until 1 o'clock. So we're still looking at some gusty winds here. Of course, we still have the tornado warnings that are in effect off to the north and west. As we put this in motion, you could see, again, very rapid movement from these storm cells, but the rain not quite over yet. So while we have these tornado warnings in effect, there's a very good chance that even though we haven't seen anything touch down, that they're rain wrapped. And that was likely the situation that we were looking at with the tornado in Woodridge. There was very heavy rain coming down at the time. We did have that inflow notch that was showing up on live Doppler 5 that was indicating where that rotation was. But with the heavy rain that was coming down, it was certainly very difficult to see. So one of the things that is going to be happening over the course of the next couple of days, National Weather Service employees are going to be going out. They're going to be assessing the damage, looking at the damage patterns to determine if there was indeed a tornado, how long it may have been on the ground, and what the intensity was based on not only radar returns but the damage that was there. So again, we're looking at the rainfall basically coming to an end for most of the area. Now the focus is on northwest Indiana with the gusty winds that are still associated with the heavy downpours, and of course we still have those 2 tornado warnings that are in effect, one until 12:45 and the other I believe is until 1 o'clock in the morning, as those 2 storm cells continue to work their way on off to the east. One of the things that I want to point out too is the fact that this has really been, and it's been a pretty severe outbreak. This has been the biggest outbreak of the year that we've seen so far. Because of the drought conditions, it has been very quiet, save for a few sporadic severe thunderstorm warnings across the area. This is fortunately the biggest outbreak that we've seen so far. Unfortunately for the folks, especially in the southern suburbs and southwest suburbs with the gusty winds. But it's been pretty quiet, Brant, up until this evening.
Pete, we have seen a couple of, I'm trying to think, maybe 5, 6 severe thunderstorm warnings.
That's been it, and it hasn't been associated with a line or anything like that either. It's just been kind of very hit or miss.
And unfortunately tonight it was more hit than miss. Thank you, Pete. Stand by. Diane is on the telephone with us. Diane, how are you? Are you safe this evening?
I am safe. Yeah, I was pretty scared earlier, but my whole family is safe. And there's a lot of people going up and down our street right now assessing damage. Our street is impassable. We're in a neighborhood with a lot of very old, very large trees. But it's a pretty typical suburban neighborhood where there's a lot of houses close together.
Now, where are you exactly, Diane?
We're in Woodridge. We're just south of 75th, so we're in between 53 and James. And the feeling is that rotation seemed to go basically from 53 to James along 75th, so we're just about a mile south of there. And we were in our basement. We could suddenly hear the loudest wind I've ever heard in my life. I was shaking. We were down in the basement with our family members, with our cats. We could hear things hitting the window. We didn't know if it was hail or debris, but thankfully it passed pretty quickly. And then that's when we started hearing that the tornado had come through Woodridge. We waited quite a long time before we went outside, but once we did, we could see our neighbor across the street. Their big, large tree just completely came down and went through their roof. They've got water coming in through their house, into their bathroom, and there's a very large tree down at the end of our block that's completely blocking the street. So there are people going down the street and then having to turn around. It's impassable at this point. And just walking down the sidewalk, there are just branches everywhere. I mean, just everywhere, all over the street, all over the sidewalks. It's a beautiful area with a lot of trees, but it's quite a mess right now.
Diane, are your neighbors safe? Have you had contact with them?
We went across the street and knocked on the door of the neighbor who had the tree that fell on his house. He said everyone in his home was safe. I don't see anything that would indicate to me that anyone was injured. There's quite a few people outside looking around. We've been checking on each other. Even though sometimes you only know your neighbor by waving to them, when something like this happens, you want to come out and you want to make sure that everyone's doing okay. And I haven't seen any sign, at least around here, of anybody having been injured, but there is definitely a lot of damage. There's going to be all sorts of crews coming through here, I'm sure. Our power has been out since the storm started, and we have no idea when it's going to come back.
And that was the next question I was going to ask you. You have electricity. You have your cell phone. Obviously, is charged. Be prepared. This may take a while to get the electricity back. Fortunately, we've got some cooler temperatures on the way tomorrow, only in the 70s. So if that's helpful, air conditioning won't be an issue. Please stay in contact with us if there's anything we can do here at NBC to help you out. we have a whole crew of people from Lisa Parker to anything that you wind up with in an insurance situation. Whatever it is, please call on us, and thank you very much for giving us the information firsthand from what happened with you tonight, and stay safe.
Thank you. You're welcome, and I hope everyone else out there is safe as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Here's where we stand right now. Let's reiterate where we have active warnings. These red and black boxes are tornado warnings, and they're pushing well east now of metropolitan Chicago across northwest Indiana. And once again, we're getting into a more sparsely populated area. Not that it's inconsequential. It's just an area that doesn't have the dense packing of houses, and so we may not see as much damage to homes. They're more sparsely located, but you can see that there's still some active weather here as that line of thunderstorms continues to press east. The blue box is a severe thunderstorm warning, and this is kind of interesting. Notice how the red boxes are inside the blue boxes. One of the things the National Weather Service is doing to kind of consolidate the warnings is they'll issue a severe thunderstorm watch, that's the blue box, with the caveat that perhaps the tornado could occur. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. Within that blue box, that severe thunderstorm warning, there has been a tornado detected, and same thing that we've seen throughout the evening. That sort of consolidates the warnings. So if you hear a severe thunderstorm, seek shelter. Get to a strong interior room away from windows, center of the basement. Do everything that Diane and her family did and seek shelter. And then on top of that, you may wind up with an embedded tornado. And again, that line is advancing very quickly leaving our viewing area, and you can see until 1:15. So let's take a second here, and Pete, if you can come up with us too. We are both sort of Bob Vila types. I mean, we've both remodeled houses. You're an accomplished cabinet maker. I'm sharing some of your family secrets. Preparing for the damage. Diane talked about a tree that was through her neighbor's house across the street. At this point, there's not a lot you can do. We're about, 4.5 hours before first light at around 5:15, 5:16 tomorrow morning. This is the kind of thing, if you've got a tree through your house, this is not something that you, as the homeowner, can really address, is it?
Yeah, first off, it's nothing that you want to tackle in the dark. And second, especially when it comes to tree branches that are propped up against the house, there's kind of an art to cutting it the right way so that you're not binding up the saw and creating a dangerous situation where either you're binding up the saw or you're creating kickback with a powerful chainsaw. A chainsaw is nothing to be messing with if you haven't used one before. Leave it to the professionals. It might take them a little while to get there because as we saw from some of the damage, very widespread. There is a lot of tree damage out there. However, those are the folks who are a little bit better at taking care of it, knowing how to cut it safely, knowing how to remove it safely. And of course, with down power lines potentially wrapped up in some of these tree branches, after all, that's likely how the power got knocked out, was from the tree branches falling down. That's certainly nothing that you want to mess with. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity of seeing an arcing line that's been down on the ground, but it is very intense as far as the light goes. It's practically blinding because of the sparks that are coming out of that. So certainly it's not something that you want to mess with. Let's kind of bring you up to speed here on what's going on. We still have the one more tornado warning, this in LaPorte County, and this one is set to expire at 1 a.m. And we still have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect for most of northwest Indiana. This too is until 1 a.m. But again, we're starting to see the watch box dropping. We're also starting to see the rain come to an end here. And when you see right now what you're seeing on the radar, a couple of things. One, it's a little bit more disorganized. Before we had a little bit more distinct cells, but now notice how things are breaking up a little bit. We got two things going on. One, it's weakening, and two, the good news is it's moving further away from our radar, which means that it is moving its way on out. So we're seeing a little bit more in the way of heavier rainfall down to our south and west. So we continue to see the heavy rains coming down. But we're going to zoom on in here, because where you see these yellow boxes so far, and these are just preliminary, these are some of the storm reports that we're looking at, including a 60-mile-an-hour wind gust around Sugar Grove, and then we also had some gusty winds in parts of Will County into DuPage and Cook County as well. We'll zoom on in here to Kankakee County. Fortunately, just rain. No severe warnings are associated with it, so we're seeing this severe weather event winding down, but not after it has made it a memorable severe weather event this evening. Brant?
And Christian Farr is standing by. We'll go to him in just a moment. The batteries on our wireless microphones, mine just is exhausted. So Pete will give you a chance to switch up the batteries on that microphone. And out there covering the situation is Christian Farr. Christian, what are you seeing this evening?
Well, good evening, Brent. It's pretty devastating out here. Here with photographer Chris Brown, and there's a lot of trees down, roofs that have been ripped off. We're here in Woodridge. We're at Woodridge and Jonquil right now, and you can see that there's a lot of people out in the street. Hopefully you can kind of see that, but there's a lot of damage here. We've got a lot of down trees over here. That is the intersection at Woodridge and Jonquil that you're watching right now. You could take a look right over here, Chris, to the right. You can see this tree has completely been ripped apart. We also, again, if Chris can come kind of over here, you can see that the roof has been ripped off of this house. Now, if we come down here, Chris, follow me down so you could take a look at this house right here. We just spoke to the son-in-law of the man that lives in this house. He is actually hard of hearing. He was on the right side of this house. I hope I'm speaking of the correct house, because he pointed to a few others, but he was sleeping on the right side, on the left side of this house, and the damage is on the right side. That's where all of that damage kind of ripped the side of that house apart, and thank goodness he was on the other side, because we are told that he is hard of hearing. So we've got quite a bit of damage out here, a lot of people. Phil Rogers is here right now. Phil, how are you doing? Give us a sense of what you're seeing out here after just getting on the scene.
Well, I just walked in from Janes Avenue, and as we just described on the air by phone just a minute ago, if you go out onto I-355, there's a great deal of debris right where this crosses 355. There's a car that got caught up in it. It's very smashed up, windshield smashed, airbag deployed. There's a trooper there who tells me that he believes the motorist got out fine. We're still checking into that right now. But I've walked basically that route. If you come through this neighborhood, it's just an ocean of downed limbs and debris. Not a lot of house damage. It's mostly just the kind of thing you see when a tornado just kind of tears everything up in its path. But over on Janes Avenue, which is about 4 blocks east of here, police have that entire stretch shut off. We understand there is considerable damage over there. Also, we are getting reports that over east of I-355, south of 75th Street, that would be right over in the area of the Village Greens Golf Course, the Ziegfeld Troy Golf Course, they're there together. We understand there's an apartment complex over there that possibly got some severe damage as well.
You know, we came up on Woodridge and Jonquil. My photographer, Chris Brown, was already here. There were actually fire trucks here trying to handle this situation, survey it, take a look at it, help people. They had to leave because there was a fire someplace else, not certain where. Yeah. But this is not a safe situation. We've got a lot of people walking around here, and it's dark and there's debris.
Well, that's the biggest problem. And if any of the residents here are watching and are considering getting out, the one thing I can tell you that's really frightening when you go into a tornado area at night is you've got wood with nails sticking out of it. You've got the potential for down power lines just snaking their way through debris. It's extremely dangerous to walk through this. And we say that having just done that, which people would argue is probably not a very wise thing to do. But the one thing we can tell folks is they want to stay out of these areas, especially in the dark.
You know, we were in Oklahoma together when that tornado hit there. Now, the damage not even close to what we saw there. We saw homes ripped off of their foundation. I mean, give us a sense of that comparison.
Not even similar. I mean, down there you had, that was an F5. You had total destruction that looked like just a bomb had gone through and leveled everything. This, you have basically an intact neighborhood with the trees denuded and knocked down, albeit with some considerable damage like what you just showed here. Now, once we get in here and we can get a better look, especially after daybreak, and be able to survey the scene, possibly we'll see something that might be considerably worse. We just can't tell right now. It's very dark here, no power, and that's, of course, what the emergency responders have to face as well.